With Season 5 we wanted to add a bunch of new features and mechanics. You know, there's things for role play, for self-expression, for like new tools for players to kind of interact with. So what I love about all of these features are they're permanent additions to the Sea of Thieves sandbox. Features that once they're in, you can't imagine what it would have been like without them.
It might seem like on the surface level it's very small things, but when you put these small things together it becomes part of a bigger picture. So I feel like players will just get a lot more variety and a lot more freedom on what they want to do in Sea of Thieves.
It's such a gameplay release, it's just lots and lots of different bits of fun that will all add up together and you're going to have a ball.
Everything's in Season 5 of Sea of Thieves.
Season 5 brings a host of features. The headline one is burying treasure, so you're now finally able to live out your pirate fantasy of actually going out, taking treasure, placing it on the sand or anywhere on the islands and burying it, hiding it away, and that also generates a map for you, so you can then come back, find the treasure later on, you give them to somebody else to then, you know, here's some treasure that we've buried, you go off and find it.
But all of those maps that you and your crew have created from burying all these treasures around the Sea of Thieves, they're all stored on the captain's table of your ship. Any other pirates, they can board your ship, they can run into the captain's cabin and they can try and steal those maps from you.
You can now basically make your own quests. You can make your own quests and not only make them that you can do for your own crew, you can then gift these. You can literally take a map that you've made and hand it to another crew and go, here, have a go at this.
There are quest boards across the Sea of Thieves on all of the outposts and all of the sea posts, and players can approach the quest board and they can either take maps from the quest board or they can donate the maps they've made to the quest board for other players to take. If a crew is to bury some treasure items and post them to the quest board, and then another crew is to take that map and find those items, they'll get rewarded the next time they log into Sea of Thieves. And they'll be rewarded with the same reputation they would have got if they just took it to the trading company, and they'll also get a substantial amount of renown as well for their efforts.
The quest board allows you to kind of curate your voyage and say, okay, I want to sail in the wilds this session, so I'm going to pick treasure maps from the wilds off the quest board, and then I can go and I know where I'm going basically. And it allows for much shorter play sessions as well, which is something that I think Sea of Thieves players have been asking for a while, like just nipping in and doing 1 or 2 maps with your friends when you've got a spare half an hour or something.
So fireworks and flares are new items or projectiles that you can find around the world. They could wash up on the shore, you might find them in barrels, you can buy them from the Merchant Alliance, and they are things that you can load into the cannon and fire and create beautiful fireworks in the night sky.
They come in different forms, so we've got classic fireworks, we've got theme fireworks, and we've got cakes. So classic fireworks are what you would expect to see in a fireworks display. The theme fireworks are shapes, so you can see like Flame Heart's head, or a pig, or a chicken. And then the cakes are a collaboration of different classic fireworks that go off at the same time.
So when you load a firework into a cannon, it now has a little fuse and there's a little timer, so you have like 3 seconds or something where you can see the fuse ticking down before it fires. If you do happen to fire fireworks at a ship, for example, it may set on fire, or potentially if you are close to an exploding firework, you will get stunned. You'll have like a sort of flashbang effect where the screen will flash.
Flares are another new tool that we're adding for Season 5. There's a red and a white signal flare. We don't have like a defined way we want players to use these. It's a tool that they can use however they choose. So one crew might say the red flare is danger, and we'll fire that up if another ship's incoming to warn everybody to run back to the ship. They have this really kind of striking lighting change on the islands, especially at night. You can kind of see these really kind of stark shadows, and the red ones are really emotive, very atmospheric as well. They're very cool.
Oh, there were so many technical challenges. They had to look beautiful, which obviously affects memory and performance. You could have hundreds of fireworks going off in the world all at once, so we had to make sure that we didn't sacrifice any of the beauty of them whilst meaning we have so many up in the sky.
So we don't normally do reflections with particle systems, it's just the way that they're rendered. But I got a phone call from a technical artist saying, oh, I've moved over to work on reflections. And we saw a video from David, who's a render programmer, and it was really, really good. The feed of that conversation was, why can't we get these in? Why can't we get these in? And it just adds so much detail to the fireworks, and it just really makes them feel more alive and part of the game.
For fireworks, the tricky thing was getting them to feel impactful in a game. In real life, when you go to a firework display, you get that impact, you get that sense of reverb and that space around you, and it feels epic. So trying to mimic that in a game was difficult at first, and it largely went down to pulling in the various source that we needed based on firework recordings, but also amplifying that with other layers, mixing in different tails and reverbs and things like that to make it feel spectacular. So we've also added some really special fireworks that all have different themes, and they will display different pictures and graphics as they go off. So to get the sound right for those was a bit tricky. We wanted them to feel special, we wanted them to feel spectacular and satisfying when you fire them off. So when one of them does go off, you will know about it, and you will also hear some kind of theme-based audio that follows the explosion as well.
There's always music with a firework display. So you can use 1812, you know the part which goes boom, like that with the fireworks. So yeah.
So one of the things I love about Sea of Thieves is the kind of potential for role play. Players kind of acting silly, getting into their kind of character and enjoying themselves within the world. Both sitting and sleeping allows players to kind of fulfill that role play, and it creates a lot of hilarious moments on the seas.
We've had emotes and stuff that allow you to kind of sit anywhere, but we wanted you to be able to sit and feel like a part of the environment, whether that's dangling your feet off the end of a jetty or leaning forward when you're sat in the tavern with your crew because you're all like hushed talking about something. We've been howling in play sessions just because we've been sat next to each other. With both sitting and sleeping, the basic mechanic is you'll go and hold X to interact with the chair or the bed. The hold X came from our wonderful insiders because we had it on a press and we broke ship combat, so we made it a hold X so that everyone can fight each other without accidentally sitting down. And then in the case of sleeping, we'll play a short kind of into animation as you climb in your bed, and that's all in first person, so it's super immersive. And then nobody falls asleep instantly, so there's a little kind of variable delay as your eyes kind of fade shut, and then after a few seconds your character will start snoring. This is kind of a shared world sound. Everyone on your ship or nearby on an island, if it's a hammock or a bed on an island, will be able to hear you snoring.
When you're sleeping, the mix of the game will change slightly. Everything will get a little bit more quiet and muffled, as if you're kind of in a dream state. And even just when you're sitting, the fact that you can stay in first person and you can look around you while you're sitting down, everything just suddenly feels a lot more ambient. And that's where all of the work that we've put into the soundscape of Sea of Thieves really becomes important. They're those kind of tranquil moments that you can just sit and either with your friends or by yourself, and you can just take in the visual and kind of the oral experience around you.
If you've taken damage while you're sleeping, you slowly heal yourself. It's amazing how much more vulnerable you feel while you're sleeping to restore your health. If players go to sleep drunk, we change the snoring sounds because obviously you're a bit inebriated, and there might be some other bonus sounds in there that players should look out for as well.
Another feature we've added to Season 5 is talking. Obviously talking's been part of the game forever, but now your character's in-game mouth will animate when you're talking using voice comms in the game. So that's actually one of my favourite features of Season 5. I just think it adds so much immersion and roleplay to the game when you're kind of stood next to somebody on the ship and they're talking to you and you can visibly see their mouth moving whilst they're talking. It just feels so much more immersive. That talking functionality works with all of our old emotes, so whether you're dancing or you're sitting, or even if you're sleeping and you're talking, then your mouth will animate and you'll get to see that, and it's just hilarious to see.
We have the speaking trumpet that you can now use in reverse, so you can start whispering and you can like do your little plots within your own crew, because it always used to be that your crew could hear you wherever you are in the world, and now if you want to have a little, you want to play trick on someone, you can do a little whisper to each other. And now when you're using that speaking trumpet, your mouth animates, so you can actually see when people are using it. It's a nice little thing like that.
Dice is something we've been trying to add to Sea of Thieves forever, and it's one of those kind of quintessential role-play devices, that players play with, and Sea of Thieves feels like the perfect place for that. So there's 6 new dice, from the D4, the D6, the D10, the D12, and the D20, so players can play any role-play game they want in the Sea of Thieves sandbox.
For this season, we're adding 3 new shanties. Ballad of the Mer is actually from a poem that Chris Alcock wrote for the book. And so I thought it'd be really nice to have some kind of folk songy vibe, because we don't really have much of that in Sea of Thieves. I thought that would be a really nice addition. And then the second one is Row, Row, Row Your Boat, which I'm sure everyone knows. It's all in the game, and we thought, why not make a full shanty of it? With the Infernal Gallop, most people know it as the Can-Can, and this is a very upbeat song. It's very similar in vibe to 1812, and since 1812 was such a big hit with the whole community, we thought, why not do another one that's very similar, something that people can really play with in a sarcastic vibe or in a very joyous tone. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a very nice shanty. I really enjoyed making it. So. The new music on the front end is a beautiful track that Robin wrote, which is meant to signify the shoreline with the waves ebbing in and out, and that's kind of signified from the violin chords coming in and out. And to represent a bit of nostalgia, Robin putting a bit of Becalmed on the Celeste, which kind of echoes throughout on the top, which is really nice. And then in the second part of the track, you actually hear the Sea of Thieves theme tune on the solo French horn. But instead of a minor key, which is what we usually write it in, it's in a major key, which is just a bit of uplifting mood, which is really nice.
As well as making new features and tools for Season 5, we wanted to try and add a bunch of new kind of quality of life features as well. We've added this kind of fast transfer feature where players can take a storage crate and run up to a barrel, hold a button, and it will kind of take items out of that barrel and store them into the crate. Rats was a feature of our prototype for Sea of Thieves, and it was a much loved feature on the team. It was something that was really cool, but we've never had a chance to kind of go back and add it into the game. But rats are coming as part of Season 5.
This was our first opportunity to bring this feature to life. In the ship, in your ship's hold, we just very often, occasionally you just hear this little squeak and a little rattle, just to give a little bit of atmosphere down there. The cool thing that came out of this feature was that as the water level rises in your ship, the rats don't like, obviously, being underwater, so they move up to the next level. You're there going, oh, we've got water downstairs, and you can use it as a way of monitoring how much water you've got in your ship in a very subtle way.
We've added sounds on the rats, and getting that right was a little bit tricky to kind of so that you can hear them above all the boat creaking and things like that. Although it's worth mentioning they are on a toggle, so you can turn that off if rats aren't your thing.
Back when we released Haunted Shores and you defeated ghost ships, you got these little ghosts that kind of circled the loot above them. And that was a tool for players to kind of understand where the loot is in that vast ocean. And we've now added that in for the Meg and for the Kraken. So when you defeat the Kraken or the Meg, little seagulls kind of appear above the treasures so that players can kind of swim over and find out where they all are.
A cannon rowboat, as it does what it says on the tin, is literally a cannon mounted onto the rowboat. You can be aggressive on a rowboat, and you can actually sort of be rowing up and actually sort of firing it onto the ship. If it's docked to your ship, it's like an awkward little cannon on the back, but it just gives you that extra bit of range and things on the back of the ship. And once again, we can't wait to see how people start using us. People will use this in 100 interesting different ways that we've never thought about. As part of adding the cannon to the rowboat, obviously it's a big thing, it fires like that. This is the first time that when you fire you get a little pew, and you get spun around like that. It stops it being too powerful because we didn't want it to be this, it's basically another ship type, but it really gives you a good feel of how much that cannon has kicked. And you can now dock your rowboat in whichever direction you want on the back of the ship, which is something that we've added for this release as well.
Something that we've always looked at trying to improve in Sea of Thieves is the general combat and the flow of the game. So now with Season 5 we've looked into the skeletons and the phantoms dropping these little ammo pouches when you kill them. So you can see a skeleton on an island, shoot them, defeat them, they'll drop an ammo pouch, run over, seamlessly pick it up. You'll restock your projectile weapon and then you can kind of carry on in that flow state in that battle.
It's been really exciting to get back to the roots of Sea of Thieves, so to do this update and kind of expand that across sitting and sleeping and fireworks and burying treasure, to be sat at a tavern table and to turn on to Presto and just see his character's voice chat mouth go, "Hey mate, how you doing?" is like, it's amazing, and it's so silly and refreshing to see the world from a new perspective like that.
That's the really cool thing, there's so many ways that you put a little mechanic into the game, and people think of ways of using it that you've never thought of before, and we just can't wait until everyone gets to play it and just see what they can do with it.
Obviously, fireworks are my favourite. They are beautiful and stunning, and I can't wait for players to play with them. I can't wait to just see GIFs and videos of people firing everything together and making a big show.
The VFX team and the tech art team worked on them, so I'm sure there'll be some nice chitter chatter in between the team of whose fireworks, but with the biggest payoff out of everything else. I think, yeah, the fireworks and seeing fireworks displays is probably the thing that I'm excited to see players do and get the most out of.
Katie and DM did an amazing job on the sound design as well, because it just brings so much nostalgia and it brings so much, yeah, this is fireworks. We all know what fireworks sound like, but hearing it, you're like...
All of the features are really unique and there will just be something for everyone. My favourite thing about adding anything to Sea of Thieves is always just seeing the creativity, the role play, they always do things that I would just never expect with what we add to the game.
The features that we're building for Season 5, they really speak to the heart of what makes Sea of Thieves special for me. That kind of self-expression, that kind of joyful, playful fun. We're always going to be looking to add more features like this into the game.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you just saw and want to stay up to date with all the latest Sea of Thieves news, then hit subscribe and click that little ship's bell for all those notifications. Cheers.